Coming up on Network Africa. Death toll from explosions at a military base in Equatorial Guinea rises to 105. U.S. Ambassador to Ethiopia, Greta Passy, to visit conflict-hit Ethiopia's Tigray region. Plus, one person killed in South Africa as police and students clash at South Africa's Wits University. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale. The Health Ministry in Equatorial Guinea says the death toll from explosions at a military base has risen to 105. Some 133 people are still in hospital and a total of 615 people were injured in the blast. The death toll rose after 7 more bodies were discovered on Tuesday. The blast on Sunday hit the Nkwantoma military base in the country's main city, Bata, and caused huge damage to buildings and homes. President Obiang Nguema said they had been caused by the negligence of a unit charged with the care and protection of stores of dynamite and explosives. The International Organization for Migration says there are more than 131,000 people displaced in 39 accessible locations in Ethiopia's Tigray region and neighboring Afar and Amara region. The data was gathered through a displacement tracking matrix, its new survey, which gathers and analyzes data on population estimates, vulnerabilities, and the need of displaced populations. IOM said it had identified 30,383 displaced households. The IOM says many of the displaced persons, including women and children, are in need of emergency shelter, food, and access to clean and safe drinking water. The number represents about 2% of Tigray's population of between 5 million and 7 million. Now, the U.S. ambassador to Ethiopia is to visit the northern Tigray region, where a government-led military campaign against regional forces left thousands dead and hundreds of thousands displaced. The visit comes after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken last week urged Ethiopia to allow an international investigation into alleged atrocities in the region. It's unclear what access Ambassador Greta Passy will be granted in Tigray, but the embassy said in a tweet that the U.S. was committed to providing life-saving assistance to vulnerable populations in Ethiopia. The Tigray region descended into conflict on the 4th of November 2020 when Ethiopia's government launched an offensive to oust the Tigray People's Liberation Front after its fighters captured federal military bases in Tigray. Maria Bird, our Washington, D.C. correspondent, joins us now for more. Maria, what more can you tell us about the U.S. ambassador to Ethiopia's visit?
Tanila, thank you for having me. This visit will be one that we know is one of those first visits of the new administration to the continent, especially to the Horn of Africa, which we know that the U.S. has had a long-standing relationship with supporting Ethiopia specifically. And so we know that this ambassador is going in there to address some of the political instability, obviously some of the political crises that exist, and seeing what is actually happening on the ground so that the U.S. has a better idea as to how they can best support Ethiopia moving forward. So this is going to be really a time of observation and a time of being able to gain more knowledge base to be able to see what can be done to address this further.
You know, now it's a bit unclear what access Ambassador Greta Passy will be granted in Tigray. What's the U.S. plan in helping the Tigrayan people here?
Well, the U.S., has been working for a few weeks now on this, and we know, as we know, the UN ambassador for the U.S. Has a long-standing relationship with the continent, so we can guarantee that she's going to be involved in this process as well. And we know that the Secretary of State has had a long-standing, prior to his appointment to be Secretary of State, relationship with Africa. So there has been conversations, and there has been plans to be able to address if there is not a full on support from the entire government of Ethiopia, and if there is any setbacks once reaching there, I think they've made some arrangements to ensure that they're able to at least provide some sort of an insight, and obviously building those relationships to best support the country as a whole.
All right, then, Maria, thanks a lot for your reporting.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on now, the International Organization for Migration has demanded urgent humanitarian access in Yemen to migrants, mostly Ethiopians, wounded in a deadly fire at an overcrowded holding facility. The IOM says that as many migrants are in a critical condition, meeting their health needs must be an urgent priority. It's not clear how many of the hundreds of people were killed or injured in the fire at the center in Sana'a, but the IOM says more than 170 have been treated for injuries, with many still in critical condition. A Yemeni human rights group, Mawatana, has issued a report suggesting that the number of those who died is far higher than the figure of 8 given so far. Ghanaians are in mourning after a number of children drowned near a popular beach in the southern region. Rescuers have retrieved 12 bodies of children, and they're said to have been part of a group aged between 14 and 17 who had gone for a swimming outing on Sunday at a Palm town. Parents and locals have gathered at the shore to wait for news of those still missing. The bodies of the deceased are currently at the local hospital. We'll have more on that. But in the meantime, in Lagos State, Nigeria's commercial city, workers are in solidarity with their counterparts across the country. They hit the streets to vent their disapproval with the proposed removal of the minimum wage from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. They are promising to continue the action should lawmakers not discontinue legislation on the bill.
The policies of our governments are always wicked, always against the people, always against the interests of Nigerians. When this administration was taken over from the last administration, dollar was 468 naira. Today, dollar is 410. And everything in Nigeria is dollarized. Everything is dollarized. Tomato is dollarized. Everything is dollarized. We want to state categorically that once you are pursuing a snake will run away from you when he hears its step. But when it gets to a dangerous point, that snake will turn back and face the person that is pursuing it. We are already beginning to be fed up in this country. In fact, what we have seen during the answers is going to be like a child's play. It's going to be a joke. If this bill, if those who claim to be our leaders, they now want to be they are not going to be our leaders again. They want to sponsor this wicked bill and see it to the third reading. We will not allow this one to see the light of the day.
Well, the NLC president and the TUC president also presented the letter of protest to representatives of the National Assembly, who told them that the letter is accepted in good faith and it will be given the right treatment. Well, let's take a look at the protests which are happening nationwide.
We write to inform the Honourable Speaker that a private member bill moved by Honourable Garba Mohammed, representing Sabongari, Federal Constituency of Kaduna State, and sponsored by few governors, was on Tuesday, 23rd February 2021, rushed through the first and second readings. The bill seeks the transfer of national minimum wage from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list. Currently, the bill has been referred to the ad hoc committee on constitutional review.
And that's the legislative move sparking reactions from across the nation. Members of the organized labor in Kaduna State are on the streets in a peaceful protest. Protesters in Zamfara State armed themselves with placards bearing different inscriptions, but all calling attention to their demand. State lawmakers are available and promise passing bills favorable to workers.
Presently, we have about two bills with regard to our workers. It's a bill for a law to provide for the establishment of state and the local government contributory pension scheme and for other matters connected there.
It's a large turnout of protesters in Katsina, northwest Nigeria. The workers make their way to the State House of Assembly complex. In Taraba, the protesting workers find their way inside the premises of the State House of Assembly after being denied access. They are accusing some state governors of being behind the bill.
The essence of this protest rally is to register our displeasure and dismay over subterranean move by the federal government in collaboration with some selfish, egocentric governors to frustrate the full implementation of new minimum wage passed into law by the present administration in the country.
The aggrieved workers in Kwara State take their protest march through the streets of Ilorin, chanting solidarity songs. In Ogun State, the protesters marched through Abeokuta, the state capital. They promised to oppose any attempts to decentralize the minimum wage. The organized labor members in Delta are urging lawmakers to reject the proposal and focus on making laws that will alleviate the plight of the masses. The protests continue nationwide and workers promise to fight to the finish.
In the meantime, the Lagos State government has launched Eco Digital Skills Initiative for public school students. According to the special advisor to Governor Sanwo-Olu on Education, Tokunbo Wahab, the newly repackaged scheme will help students improve their studies and be able to compete globally for future jobs. Our correspondent, Titilayo Aberowo, reports.
Education is considered the most important tool to equip young people for a solid future. But much of this tooling process has been disrupted in the last 1 year, no thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. This has forced governments to think of other ways to ensure continuity in the learning process. In Lagos State, public schools are not lagging in this regard, as government continues to partner with edtech companies and media organizations to ensure pupils and students get the education they need from the comfort of their homes. Eco Digital Skills Initiative is the latest in these interventions, introduced as a three-wheeled solution geared towards empowering young students with the future job skills.
The events of the past 12 months had shown us that education has gone beyond the four walls of brick and mortar. Education is about IT also, and what and how we can impact knowledge. This particular Eco-Digital will be in three phases. The phase one will entail primaries and mostly secondary school pupils. We want to have at least above 100 schools in each district. Give them computers, strengthen their ICT facilities, and then let them take ownership of it.
Tutor generals have been placed in various districts across the state to spearhead the program.
Ensure that these children not only get the benefit of having knowledge and skills, but but that they are also equipped for the future.
Our youths must be engaged. And the way we can engage them is for them to be what? Technology compliant. In terms of being able to explore all the intricacies involved when it comes to what? Information, communication, technology.
They advise to engage students in such a way as to expose them to better ways of solving academic issues and broaden their scope of knowledge. Titilayo Aberewo, Channels Television News.
Still to come on the program. 2 young female musicians in South Sudan are lending their voices to call for gender equality. We'll give you more details in a moment. Please stay with us. So our coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic now. Mauritius has entered a 15-day national lockdown after a rise in COVID-19 cases since the beginning of the month. The Indian Ocean island nation recorded 5 new cases on Tuesday, bringing the total of new cases to 15 in what authorities suspect could be a second wave. The announcement prompted panic buying of supplies and long queues at petrol stations. Mauritius has confirmed 641 cases and 10 deaths since the pandemic started a year ago. Under the lockdown, only essential services, including the police, health services, seaports and airport, will remain open. Violators of the lockdown will be fined or be jailed for not more than 5 years. A similar lockdown was lifted in June last year. South African police have fired rubber bullets and stun grenades to disperse students at the University of Wits who are demanding changes to registration and financial aid policies. One person was killed, but it's unclear if it was a student or passerby. The students in Johannesburg have been protesting since Monday, blocking roads and causing general disruption over alleged financial exclusion by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. The scheme has run out of money and there's no budget available to assist new students to register for the academic year.
We were protesting in the morning. Without warning, they launched a stun grenade. After launching the stun grenade, they would then fire rubber bullets. In the midst of firing rubber bullets, one of our colleagues was shot dead. And we are here at this point to honor and mourn the passing of that colleague.
Shooting people, fighting for their rights, fighting for education. Like seriously, if I'm fighting for education, there's no money at home, you're going to shoot me. I think that's totally wrong.
And back here in Nigeria, the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon, is blaming the poor representation of women in Nigeria's political space on party politics. She says that women were denied the opportunity to run for office by many political parties in the 2019 elections. The minister made the remarks during the launch of Nigeria's gender-based violence barometer in Abuja. Our State House correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
They're calling it International Women's Day +1, a public presentation of the monthly infographics on gender-based violence response, art and video competition awards, a photo exhibition of gender activists, and the launch of the National Gender-Based Violence Barometer. The message is focused on the domestication of ideals and policies protecting women from gender-based violence.
Men and boys who commit violence against women and girls are just simply not men. They're weak, it's shameful. They are, sadly, the textbook definition of a coward.
My hope for 2021 is that we will see a translation into action in terms of genuine reforms that will create affirmative access for women to more positions of power in Nigeria.
With the launch of the Gender-Based Violence Barometer, Clicking the link gbvinfo.ng will give Nigerians access to locations and contact details of offenders. This is crucial considering the figures. 1 in 4 girls in Nigeria has been or will be abused before the age of 18. Meanwhile, a whopping 10,000 girls are abused daily in Nigeria. Despite these figures, there are only 17 sexual assault referral centers in Nigeria.
3 ministerial areas of focus.
To ensure women's issues are addressed properly, we require that women hold political positions.
To fix and change the narrative is amending our party constitution. We must have women in the National Working Committee because that is the starting point. Until we have women there, getting them to participate as candidates will be a mirage. Yes. All right. Because it's not that women were not voted for, women were denied being candidates. They waved them off during the primaries.
For many years, when we talk about the fight against gender-based violence in Nigeria, the focus has always been on magnifying the voices against this pandemic. Now it's time to move the conversation from talk to actual action. And the launch of this gender-based violence barometer is a step in the right direction. That way these predators against women can be located in particular communities, and those communities can be made safe from these predators. From the Banquet Hall of State House in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
The UN mission in South Sudan is celebrating with the people of South Sudan in advocating for equal rights for women in the world's newest country, which continues to suffer from conflict, death, and massive displacement years after civil war ended. 2 young female musicians are lending their voices to call for gender equality.
2 young women, Joy Mbaraza and Hipai Bena, are expressing their support for women's rights through their music.
There are some things women look into it critically in a different way that men cannot do. So they are great influential. That's why I say women must be part of decision making. And also, women, they don't jump into making decision. They first analyze. If I take this, if I make this and this, what will be the impact on the society, on my family? They first think critically before making decisions. So when women are included or taking part in making decisions, so you will see that the decisions that are going to make will be matured. Equal right for women.
Joy believes that music gives her courage to speak up and speak out to the young people of South Sudan on issues that matter the most.
We can use music to talk about GBV. We can use music to talk about economic activities. We can use music to talk about the unity of youth. They are not so well.
Similarly, Hipai Bena, the South Sudanese singer, was once forced by her family to get married when she was only 17. Today, Hipai is a staunch advocate for girls' education and equal rights. He draws on her own experiences to reach people through her songs.
Give them the chance. Please, I'm very sorry, but now really I'm not ready for marriage. I'm not ready for anything. Even I don't wish for any man now to ask me for my hand in marriage. So it brought a little bit of conflict. So that's why I also took it as an advantage to use it in my verse to say ladies are not source of wealth. They are not source of income. Leave a lady to achieve, like to really focus on what she wants to achieve in her future.
On this year's International Women's Day, commemorated on 8th of March, UNMISS reiterates its commitment to doing everything in its power to empower women and support them in having an equal voice in the push for peace across South Sudan.
They are not source of income. Let girls go to school. Stop child marriage. Send them to school. Support their dreams.
great use of talent. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shibowale.